G'day there guys, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the Barbie, and get ready for it. Let's go. Am I the arsehole for demanding my mother leave my room after she tried to collect my plate mid-class? This is a really dumb situation, but here. I study online and take class over Zoom. Today I had a class at 6 PM and had dinner at my desk as my class started. My family knew that I was at class. They ate without me. I put the plate out of reach behind me on my bed when I'm done with it, fully intending on taking it back after class. As my lecturer is knee-deep in analyzing characterization of a particular sentence, instead of waiting for my response, my mother sticks her head in my room and asks me for my plate. I gesture wildly for her to leave and to close the door, while trying to listen to my lecturer. She asks me for it again, ignoring my motions, until finally I mute myself and turn off my camera and hurriedly, abrasively tell her, "I'm in the middle of a class. I'll take the plate back when I'm done." She looks at me like I've smacked her across the face, pulls out of my room and slams my door shut. Am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I snapped at my mother when she asked me for my plate in the middle of class. I could have been nicer, but stressed out with work, I was trying to assimilate. I wasn't. Now in the comments, lock the door. OP replies, "I'm investing in a lock this week." Everybody sucks. While you were right to be angry with your mum for disrupting your class, your method was messed up. Your mum should respect that you have class and not disturb you. I think you should have just given her the plate and then after class, had a conversation with her about how it's distracting to have people interrupt your lectures. Tell her this class is difficult and you were trying your best to pass, but it's hard. A little white lie goes a long way. Apologize for blowing up at her and ask from now on, can she please not interrupt your course? I've had issues with this and my parents. I work night shift and sleep during the day. My mum used to wake me up in the morning with a nasty egg and cheese sandwich because she wanted to do something nice for me. But of course, I wanted to sleep more than eat that nasty sandwich. Your mum might have been trying to be nice to you. If she finds that you'd rather not be disturbed more, then she might just do that. It stopped my mum from the egg sandwich wake-up calls. You have to try and have a conversation first. If they can't get it, move out. No arseholes here. The mum was trying to do a nice thing, taking the plate, or avoid a mess. That is, if OP usually forgets to bring the plate down, and OP should have their privacy. But older people have even less idea than younger on how to manage the at-homeness of the new life. It should be explained calmly, not during schoolwork hours. Not the arsehole. I'm currently working from home and have a sister who is doing school from home. Yet, we have two, if not more, people in and around the house who think it's perfectly fine to just barge in and interrupt whenever they want. It's weird how people being at home has made others think that the work and schooling doesn't matter. Your mum needs to understand your boundaries. I think you handled that as best as you could. She practically forced you to get upset with her. And now, on to the update. Last month I came to this subreddit asking, am I the arsehole for getting frustrated at my mother for coming into my room to collect a plate while I was in a lecture? It was one of several incidents that I'd had with mom, which continued to increase in both frequency and severity. Finally, I was house sitting alone when I completely broke down. I wasn't comfortable at all. The bed I was trying to sleep on would be put to better use as a table. I couldn't determine why, but while on the phone with a friend, I came to the realization that I hadn't been comfortable for a long time, either because mum was constantly barging into my room, or because of the loud birds she insisted upon owning, or any other number of reasons. After 3 hours spent crying into my pillow, sounds pathetic looking back on it now, I scrolled through Facebook and got angry over a photo she'd posted, weeks ago, of me trying to stop a bird from landing on my head. So I retaliated, taking a screenshot of the post and writing an essay about her harmful behavior. My dad contacted me first with a long message. Then he called me, where we had a long discussion about me taking what she says or does far too seriously. When I snapped at him and informed him that fine, I'll stop being a bother, He insisted upon calming me down. Finally, he hung up. And then he called me back, telling me I should visit my GP. Given my family's history of anxiety and depression, as well as a myriad of other mental health crises, it was a fair call. The next day, my doctor took me through the mental health quizzes. She told me I looked fragile and believed the build-up of the pandemic, other family-related dramas, work, and my university course have finally come to a head. Long story short, I'm now on antidepressants and haven't had a conflict with my mother since. I feel fundamentally quieter, like there's not so much going on in my head if that makes sense. It's a weird sensation to describe. Dad believes I've had a complete personality transplant, but I don't think I've changed at all. I actually have the ability to get out of bed now though, which is a nice improvement. The arsehole was me, it was totally me. Unable to perceive small matters just as they are. Small. Who'da thunk? Of course, we'll still have the occasional squabble, but nothing blown as out of proportion as the last month of what I'd considered utter catastrophes. Edit, I'd like to reiterate the following. My Am I the Arsehole was a legitimate error on both mine and my mother's parts. I installed a lock on my door, and I'm working on moving out. However, I'm not being abused or manipulated into being docile about abuse. Docile is an interesting word being thrown around, and it's cute some people think I'm drooling into the carpet while scrolling Reddit. I'm not, but my Maremma is, if that's any consolation. She drools while she sleeps. Now in the comments, big internet hug. I don't think you're the arsehole. Seconded. Good job, OP. Proud internet stranger here. Thirded. You were not an arsehole, and you weren't then. You were dealing with a lot the best way you could. We all do this when we're overwhelmed. It wasn't until I got on anti-anxiety meds that I finally realized all the conflict and wrongness I was feeling from anxiety, and not because I was easily annoyed. And I was 27 at the time. You were doing just fine. Isn't it amazing when your body just unclenches and the clouds clear in your brain? It's not a personality transplant. Your personality just finally has a chance to come out again. That's totally how I would describe it to other people when I first started antidepressants. The clouds just lifted, and I could think more clearly than I could in a long, long time. Maybe ever. My antidepressants are my savior. I don't have panic attacks, and I can think much more rationally and calmly. They really help you be the best you, because they take the edge off the extreme emotions that plague us. Our next post is titled, Am I the Arsehole for telling my sister that she's overreacting and suggesting that her son was the one at fault? I, 20 female, live with my sister Lena, 31 female, and her 2 sons, James and Luke, 15 male. She's a single mom, and the guy who got her pregnant isn't in the picture. It was very messy, but I don't know what happened, just that she cut off all contact. Anyways, Lena is very protective of her sons. She's only dated one guy since she split with the dad, and gives her children/work all her attention. While she doesn't exactly spoil the kids, it's obvious she dotes on them a lot. James, the younger of the two, is a bit of a troublemaker and isn't the smartest person. He isn't a bad kid, but he tends to get distracted. No ADHD, just a bit of an airhead. His teachers usually don't care or work around it, but his science teacher lost it a few days ago. Apparently James didn't understand what was happening, and even after the teacher explained it multiple times, he still didn't get it and she started screaming at him. According to Luke, James falls asleep in class often as well, and the science teacher was shouting at him for that as well. Well, my sister was furious when she found out, considering James cried and had a bit of a panic attack. Personally, I think he was faking to get people to sympathize with him, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Lena was going off about how she wasn't going to let this slide, but I interrupted her and told her that she was overreacting. She looked confused, so I explained further and mentioned that James needed to get some sense knocked into him anyway, and that he's a bit of a pain to teach. Well, apparently I should not have said that, as Lena started screaming at me. She said that she was shocked I could say such a thing, and then told me to get out of her house. I told her that James isn't a baby anymore, and she really cannot excuse his behavior, but that made her even more angry because she's protecting him. She said she understands that her son can be difficult, but he's trying his best. I get that too, but I think Lena's being a bit extreme by saying that she wants the teacher fired. The teacher is a human, and we all have our limits. I don't think it's fair. Well, I got kicked out and I'm living with my parents again, and my parents have mixed feelings about the situation and have chosen not to comment. So Reddit, am I the asshole for saying what I said and defending the teacher? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I might be the asshole because I blamed her son for what happened and did kind of insult him in a way. I also said my sister was overreacting. Now in the comments, everyone sucks here. You may be right about James ultimately just having an attitude problem, that's in need of radical correction. But how your sister is raising her kids is utterly not your business. Yup, as a future teacher, I appreciate OP's sentiment. We are only human and have breaking points, but unsolicited parenting advice and feedback based solely on presumptions is never a good move. And edit, just to clarify, no, I don't support yelling at kids in case that was unclear. And OP says, I get that technically it isn't my business, but is it so wrong for me to point out what I don't agree with? Yes, that is literally not minding your business. This is such a nonsensical take though. Kids grow up to live in society and impact those around them, so those around them definitely have a say in how those kids are acting. If you saw one kid beating up another kid, you wouldn't just be like, welp, it's not my place to scold the kid or talk to their parents about corrective behaviors because I'm not their parent. Obviously, you shouldn't nitpick every single thing, but you shouldn't just not comment ever either. OP definitely didn't handle it appropriately in this situation, but the fact that they said something isn't the issue. OP had a bad take on parenting because she's young. Sure, the sister should absolutely go have the child tested and checked because he's a kid unable to stay awake and concentrate. But OP's opinion that yelling at him to knock some sense into him is not good either. You're the asshole. That teacher's behavior was completely inappropriate, full stop. You trying to blame the child for a teacher's temper and lack of professionalism is not okay. It'd be one thing if the incident had been dealt with, and then you brought up the possibility of constructive solutions, but saying to knock some sense into him? Completely unhelpful and rude. Jesus. After reading your response comments, you are literally an asshole person and have a lot of maturing to do. You're an asshole for implying that your sister didn't raise her kids right. You're an asshole for saying James needs some sense knocked into him. You're an asshole for defending the teacher. My 3rd grade class had 20 out of 24 students need therapy because of a teacher screaming her lungs out at us. So anyone defending a teacher for taking any aggression out on a student is a massive a-hole. And now onto the update. So I posted this the other day and honestly thought only 2 people would reply saying, nah, you're not the asshole. But clearly, that was not the case. I was in denial though, and thought a lot about the situation after reading all your comments, and maybe I do have some resentment towards my nephew. I do not hate him though. We practically grew up together. I was a bad child too when I was his age, and I guess I got jealous of the fact that my sister was so lenient with James while I was grounded, scolded, etc. However, I realized that hating him because of that isn't reasonable in the slightest, and I was a huge B-word. Secondly, I would like to apologize from the bottom of my heart for claiming that tall men cannot have panic attacks. I guess I linked panicking to the wrong thing, and typing this out sounds absolutely ridiculous to me now. Also, saying that I'm 100% sure that he doesn't have ADHD or other problems without even getting him tested was also pretty crappy of me. I apologize. Now for the update. I tried calling my sister last night, but she didn't answer, so I showed up at her house in the morning. She was surprised and got angry really quickly. However, when I told her that I just wanted to apologize, she let me in, hesitantly. So I apologized for calling her overdramatic and for insulting James and assuming he was faking a panic attack. She told me that she didn't accept my apology because I said crap without knowing the full story. She was also upset because James had heard the whole thing. We were shouting pretty loud, and has been in a pretty bad state. Anyways, after she mentioned that I didn't know the full story, I got curious, so I asked her to explain, and she revealed that James doesn't handle confrontation or shouting well because of his dad. She didn't tell me this because 1, it wasn't my business, and 2, I was 13 when they split and my sister wasn't going to tell a 13-year-old effed up stuff. I apologized to James, who said that he'd forgive me, but my sister is still angry and won't let me back into the house. I asked Luke for an update and how they were handling the apology, and he said he wasn't allowed to talk to me. So there's that. I apologized and accepted the fact that I was a major asshole, but my sister hasn't forgiven me and is not letting her kids near me, which, okay, I deserve it, I guess. I'd like to thank y'all for educating me, kind of, and making me realize that I was being extremely hateful and close-minded. I was being extra generous to a grown woman and being overly critical towards a 15-year-old kid. I apologize for that. Once again, thanks, and hopefully my sister forgives me. Now in the comments, you did the right thing by apologizing, and all you can do now is back off and wait. Don't text or apologize anymore. The proverbial ball is in her court now. I feel so bad for James. I'm glad he has a good support system. It's good that you apologize to him, but I do hope you realize that what you said will stay in his mind for a very long time, compounded by the fact that you didn't have much respect for him. Keep in mind that kids are still establishing good coping mechanisms. Hell, everyone is, and some don't have enough life experiences or examples to work with. Unfortunately, adults often look at how kids are adjusting or coping with life and think, damn, she or he must be stupid, lazy, etc. I've been guilty of such thoughts, but I keep reminding myself that we are all still growing and adjusting. Wait for them to make the next move, but maintain contact and make effort for your apology to be sincere. It's good that you see your mistakes, and I hope you take measures to correct it further. I wish you the best, and hope that your relationship with your sister and nephews gets closer after such conflict. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat in the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.